to Sis-topia, where games never end. My name is Ayrin. Today we are playing Toca Life World. So let's start. So today's episode starts at not Yuki's house. No, not the post office, but somewhere like here, the theater. So this is the place where we act, and this are all the audience. And also this is Yuki, okay? So let's see. Okay, this is the guy who reveals what today's act is. Yeah, but today act I made my own story. Okay, so now this guy will play this. Now let me bring in everything. So this guy was like, I'm so sad because my mother oofed and I'm all alone in my house. Well, this place reminds me of my mother because this place is where my mother oofed. And then this guy was crying, and then the stone creature came in saying like, Then he was like, yeah, I am alone. This is the place where my mother oofed. Then he was like, Then he was like, you're such a kind person. You're such a kind person. Oh, what was that? You live in my place because I'm not going to be all alone now. And then he was like, hooray! And then he carried the stone person. So then, after 1 year, this guy announced, 1 year later, now there were dangerous Halloween pumpkins and a zombie in the forest hiding somewhere. And then he went back to his forest. He went back to the forest. So then he didn't know. He didn't hear the news because he's poor. And then he was walking along. But then the pumpkin and the zombie the news was talking about was here. He was spying on him, and then he was like, I feel like someone's watching us. Nah, it's nothing. And then the guy was like, but then these two came attacking him. Yeah, oof. And this guy also came. Yeah, ooh. And then he was like so scared. Ah, run! And then those two chased him. But then the audience were all like, they were all scared. Such a scary story. And then he was like, and then he ran and reached a forest. And then because of this, and then it was not dark. The monsters go away when it's night time. It was like, phew. I was in a big danger. And then after a few days, he went back to the forest. And then he went back to the forest. And then he was here a few days ago, and then today too. And then the monsters didn't came, so he thought that no worries, they're not gonna come now because they weren't here after a few days. And then a lot of these two brought a lot more monsters, and then he surrounded them. And then they were both like, And then this guy saved uh, saved Stony. I named this guy Stony. Yeah. And then he fell like over here, so nobody knew where he was. Then they were all like, I'll go look for him. I can't find him. He blended into all these rocks. Never mind, at least we got one person. And then he was like, and then they were almost about to attack him. Like they were all jumping. Oh my gosh, ignore that bit. They were all like, yeah. And then a fairy came, whoosh. And then the fairy magic them all to disappear for eternity. Whoosh. Okay. And then she said, whoosh, 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 whoosh. So they all. No. Okay, so they all disappeared for eternities. And then because of and then she came down. And then like, thanks for saving me, magical fairy. And then the fairy was like, you're welcome. And because the fairy did something very, very nice and good, the mask got off her. Then she looked very, very beautiful. And then the guy was like, wow. Then Stony was like, And then he was like, Stony, hooray! And then they all lived happily ever after. The end. And then the audience were all like, they're all like, hooray! This story is such a wonderful story. And then they were all like, and then Yuki was like, hey Millie, which one was your favorite? Mine was the magical fairy. Oh, mine's too. But then Ren's like, oh wait, you're not supposed to smile. Ren's like, oh, and me, I like that long lashes dragon, and then drooling tomato sauce green boy, and the other monsters. And then they all lived happily ever after. The end. Well guys, thanks for watching, and subscribe and join Sis-topia. And I'll come up with another channel like this.